If you have an iPhone, you're going to click that share button at the bottom, the little arrow in the box, and you're going to scroll over to add to home screen. On an Android, it looks a little bit different. There's usually like 3 little dots at the top. However, you normally share a website, and then one of your options will be saved to home screen. That's the option that you're looking for right now. And see, now it looks like an app icon on my home screen. So from here, there's different options. You can click on My Serving, or Serving Requests right there, and you'll see the ones that are pending for you. So I have a pending request. I can click on that pending request. I can accept all. We're not doing decline. Accept all. And I'll explain that in just like, can you pause it right here? Sorry. So everyone say with me. Say, I will not decline. We have another option. So what we're going to do, because we are a team here, we're going to find somebody who can replace our shift. Because we do have 2 awesome people who are doing scheduling for us. Tiffany will be scheduling in downtown, and remind me of Christy, right here. Everyone look at Christy. She's our awesome scheduling person. So we don't want Christy and Tiffany staying up till midnight on Saturday trying to fulfill all the people who cannot come to church because of their puppy is doing something and their aunt came into town. So since we are a team and since we are all awesome people who love each other, we are going to use this option. Instead of decline, everyone say, I will not push decline. We're going to go down. There's some options for us. So we will find a replacement. You can also swap with someone if you want to do that. They're pretty much kind of the same. But I think if we play it again, we'll show what happens. I think it's in this portion we'll see here. So I accepted that request. You can always go back in even after you've accepted. Here we go. You can find a replacement. I accepted it, but I realized I couldn't do it that day. It's going to send me a list of all the people who also work in Types or Tots or wherever you're working, and it's going to send them an email directly. You can also swap with somebody. You can click on the services time that you're trying to swap the same thing, and it will send a request to that person. Pretty easy. It's all in there. After you've done that, you'll want to select Message Scheduler and just say, hey Tiffany, I'm so sorry that I won't be able to make it, but I actually did find Christy and she's going to be able to cover my position. So that will just let her know that you've got it all covered. Because we're a team and we love each other and we work so well together. Yes. Yeah.
Just to add to that real quick, if you do choose to find a replacement or to swap with someone, it's still your responsibility until that's finalized. So just because you clicked one of those doesn't let you off the hook. We still need to follow through all the way through until you found that replacement.
Yep. So definitely here. Yes, we're.
And let's just say maybe nobody's available. Should we just call you guys and be like, hey?
Yes, that's when you can definitely message scheduler, or if you have their phone number or whatever, you can send them a text like, hey, I've tried, send out 19 requests and nobody's available, what should I do? And we can definitely help you find a solution. So we'll definitely step in at that point and help you out to find somebody. So we just want to make sure that it's actually covered. It's like, oh, instead of, like Carla was saying, I sent an email, but sometimes people don't check their email, you know? And sometimes they didn't see that it was pending in there, so we just want to make sure. We'll get you some other avenues to try to connect with people as well. This would be a great time to get people's phone number. If you find out who's on your team, you can get somebody's phone number. You can say, be little trading, swapping buddies. All right, we can go ahead and play. This shows your accepted request. So if you're wondering, like, oh my gosh, I remember I scheduled, but I can't remember what day it is, that's where you find all of those, all your accepted requests. And like I said, you can still, even after you've accepted and you figure out something's, not working out, you can find a replacement. Probably not 2 minutes before you're supposed to be here, but that probably wouldn't work out very good. What I want you all to go to right now is go to your contact info and make sure it's all updated. Super important is that we have the right email address, your right phone number, and your carrier. So select a mobile carrier and update that right now, because you will not be receiving any text from us if your mobile carrier is not in there correctly. So even if you think everything's correct, just go into there, make sure that it's all correct. You can add a fancy little picture of yourself if you want to show us who you are. And then our last, I'm showing you how to upload a picture. Make sure that's all updated. And then our last area on here is your preferences and availability. So you can select this, and it gives you lots and lots of options on here. If there's a day that you cannot serve, if there's a service time you're like, I have to work, but I'm available in the morning, you can put all that information in there. And you can type in why, you can put any of that stuff. So there's tons and tons of options in there. If you know, like, I can only do this service, or, you know, normally I can do all these services, but this time, you know, on the third Sunday that I usually serve, I'm going to be out of town, and I know that 2 months in advance. Go ahead and put that in there, and that will just help out your schedules. And that's it. So yes, you should have a pretty little icon that you can click on, and it will just automatically populate every time. You can stay up to date with when you're serving, which class you're in, all the information, how to contact everybody is right there. Do you have any questions about any of that? Does it make sense? Is everyone able to save it? Me and Carla are here if you need help saving it, but this should provide some good resources for you.
Can we give Pastor Caitlin a round of applause? CCB has been an amazing addition for us for scheduling and keeping track of everything, but it's definitely a learning curve. So thank you guys for jumping on board and getting used to the new system right along with us. So I want to take just a few minutes and walk through what to expect as we gear up for 2 campuses and as we continue to grow. So the way that it has worked at Sandy is Carla has been our elementary director, and Alicia, who is home with kids with the flu and strep today, has been our preschool team lead, our director there. And so with those 2 positions, it has worked out super well. But as we continue to grow, we are realizing that we're needing extra strength and assistance with different areas. And so, like Pastor Caitlin had mentioned, Christy is going to be our new scheduler for Sandy. And then Tiffany will be our scheduler in our downtown campus, okay? And so what I'm going to do now is just walk through what we're looking at building, okay? So we've had both of our directors. Tiffany will also be the director of downtown as well. She's going to wear the All Things Kids Ministry hat downtown for a little bit. But in Sandy, one of the things that we're going to do is start building out our classroom leads. And so right now, with Carla and Alicia, if any of you, before Christy gets officially up and running, I mean, she's running now, but prior to that, you guys would go to Carla and Alicia for anything, right? Every question you had, every week you weren't available, classroom or the nursery's out of diapers, whatever it is, you guys have gone to those 2 people. And so now we're going to build in structure underneath Carla and Alicia where you guys will each, depending on the classroom that you're serving in, have a classroom lead attached to that. And so we're just going to walk through that. I'm not sure exactly what's behind me yet, but they will be your go-to, okay? So we're still working through some of the details for nursery. Tots right now is Liz Davis, who wasn't able to be here today. She's got family in town, but most of you that are in Tots know Liz. She's been the one that's working with you on when you're available and stuff like that. And so the role of the classroom lead is really to take care of you, make sure that you're doing well, stand with you, support with you, pray with you, depending on what's going on in your journey. And then as well, making sure that they take care of the to-dos in the classroom, okay? If you guys are needing snacks or you're needing more photocopies of coloring pages for our preschoolers, you need more lights in the classroom, whatever it is that is in there, they're gonna do that, okay? So they're gonna be the carer of the team, and then they're also gonna be the manager of that classroom. Okay, so I just want to walk through that with you guys so you understand now what will end up being the case is you will have a lead over your particular area. If you're doing kids check-in, you will have a kids check-in lead. That will be your go-to person. If you're a service manager, you'll have a service manager lead. if you're in our elementary classrooms, you will have an elementary lead. Does that all make sense? And then from there, your lead will escalate issues to Carla and Alicia as is needed. Okay? And then as well, you will have your campus pastors available to take care of anything else that needs escalated on each campus. Okay? So you'll have Andrew and Caitlin downtown, and then Sarah and Dave in Sandy will be your go-tos for anything that needs to be escalated at that point. So I just want to walk through with you who and where your point of contact is. These are conversations that have just been happening over the last few weeks.
I love you guys so much. This team is the most magnificent team ever, and I know these guys are saying this, but thank you guys for being here extra time today and going through all this. But seriously, like what you guys are part of what you're doing here makes a massive difference. You're ministering to children, so thank you for that. I just want to interrupt you because I have more words to say.
Thank you. All right, so as you can see back here, so you've got your community pastors, right? We've got Dave and Sarah in the Sandy campus location, and then you've got Caitlin and Andrew downtown. So underneath our community pastors are the same kids ministry directors that we've had, Alicia and Carla. And then now we have built-in classroom leads, okay? Our nursery lead is still to be determined. Tots is Liz Davis. Types is Nate and Brianna. Can you guys stand? If you're in the room, I'd like you to stand so people know. We are so excited to have them join the team. They have been running so faithfully in preschool. Thank you guys so much for all you did. Just so you know, Types over the last few weeks has been massive. Last week alone, we had over 50 preschoolers. And they were part of that. So it is growing and it is crazy, and we're coming up with some solutions, but this is why we need leads over each classroom so that they can help manage the specific needs for each area. Okay, so Nate and Brianna are going to do that. They're going to be our leads and types. And then Ashley is here as well. Ashley is going to be over our K-1 elementary classroom, and we're so excited for Ashley to do that for us. And then 2nd through 5th grade is Wendy. Wendy has been on the team. How long have you been on the team, Wendy? November, so four-ish months. And she is here every single Sunday with our elementary kids. So thank you so much for all you are doing. She loves it, and the kids love her. So thank you for joining the lead team here. And then service managers is going to be Carla for now. And then Christy, can you stand so everybody can see you? She's the one that's going to be on the other end of the computer doing all of your scheduling and answering all of your scheduling issues and questions that you might have, okay? So, any questions about these new dynamics and roles? Cheryl? Okay, we will work with you on that, yes. We'll make sure. So her question was, she couldn't see on the app how to message Christy directly. So we'll just need to figure out how all that works. Okay, sounds good. Any other questions about that? No? You guys are good? That's clear? Okay, so we'll start rolling that out here in the next couple of weeks. One thing I do want to say before we move into, is it Carla next? Carla's portion is that I know you guys are along for the journey. I know this is exciting and it's amazing, and there are little things that we don't know how to plan for as we move to 2 campuses. And so I would just say this, please give us lots and lots of grace. Give your team members lots and lots of grace. We're changing a lot of things all at one time. And so it may take us a little bit longer than we would all hope to make necessary changes or adequate changes for our classrooms. Needs that you guys might have, we might get to quickly, and other ones might take a little bit of time. One of the things that we do foresee is that as we make changes on one campus or another, we're going to want to make them on both, right? Because we're 2 campuses but 1 church. And so just know that it'll take a little bit longer than it used to take saying, hey, I have this idea, great, run with it. We got to make sure that we can do that on both campuses so that we remain 1 church, okay? All right, thanks guys.
get to the slide, that says the check-in process. And while Nate is going there, just to clarify something about scheduling, because now we're going to have your team leads in place, if there is times like, say Saturday night, your kids are sick, or whatever the situation might be that you are not able to serve that morning, we prefer that you do not message Tiffany and Christy. And the reason for that is because they're not in the classroom. They don't really have a pulse of well, they are. They are in the classroom as teachers, but they're not as in the classroom as team leads. So they don't have a pulse of what's going on for who's on the schedule for that day. So in that situation, you need to text or call your team lead. So like the example set up there, if you're in TOTS, you're gonna message Liz or whoever your team lead is. It's different if you're needing to get a message to Kristen and Tiffany about like your availability. That's fine to do. But any of the last minute things or your replacement issues need to be directed towards your team lead because then the team lead is going to be able to maneuver some things around or themselves possibly need to fill in if there's no other options. So just so we're clear on that, that's a great thing to know. Okay. So for check-in process, and you're probably wondering like, why do we have to talk about check-in process? I'm a teacher in the classroom, or I'm a service manager. Well, those are all part of the check-in process. So how many of you have ever been to experienced anything Disney? Disney. Anything to do with Disney. So you know that if you've gone to Disney World or Land or a cruise or anything like that, you don't walk in to anything Disney not knowing where you're supposed to go, right? Like there's never not any signage or workers or anything standing there staring at you and just leaving you be, right? Okay, so one of the atmospheres that we want to create here when new families or returning families, no matter who it is, walks in this place, they feel like they're about to experience something for their kids that's going to be amazing. So I can remember several years ago we went on a Disney cruise, and from the moment we pulled into the parking lot, we knew where we were supposed to go. There were lines, there were signs, there were people constantly directing us where we needed to go, and it created excitement in us of what was to come. So I'm sure that you've seen over there, we put up lines, we put up signs, we put up feet on the floor, we put up a big giant sign in the back, and those are all little things that are just helping people know that this is going to be something fun for their kids. There's clear direction where they need to go, and there's people there helping them. So, so just to clarify a couple of things, and the reason why we're including this right now is because from the very beginning of the check-in person all the way to the teachers, you are part of the check-in process. Just because you're not there actually operating a computer or helping with an iPad doesn't mean you're not part of the process. You are. And so I just want to go over a few things. Nate, if you could go to that next slide. For new families, if you're on check-in, can you raise your hand? I know Celia is, she might be the only one here. Jacob is here too. So these guys, with the check-in team, you're the first point of contact for new families, right? So we want them to know that they're welcome here, that their kids are welcome here. So being the first point of check-in for the families, you're going to welcome them and you're going to introduce yourself to them. And I know that you guys all do a great job of that. And so just a couple of things, you'll have them fill out the information card, making sure everything's legible, accurate, and complete. And then you're going to write tags for them and for their parents, also letting them know that to keep their phones handy if your kids need anything during service. So one of the big things that we would like for you guys to do is after you've checked that family, and we want you to physically walk them over to the service manager so that there's another connection there. So Celia walks up to Jessie, who's a service manager, and says, hey, this is the Winston family. This is their daughter Sylvie. She's 1 and she's a walker. And why would I mention that? Makes a difference because it makes a difference what class she goes into. So, so she's introducing them to the service manager, and the handoff is, so nice to meet you and your service today. Just to make that transition. Then once Jessie's got them, she needs to know her classroom. Service managers need to know your classrooms. who goes where, what ages are in each classroom. And the reason why I said that about Sylvie being 1 and a walker, a 1-year-old can still be in the nursery, but they're not walking. But if they're walking, they're going in tots. So those are just the little things that you need to know. So the service manager will then walk the families to the appropriate classroom, and there might be several teachers in the room, but they're gonna pick one teacher and they're gonna say, hey, Sarah, this is the Winston family. This is Sylvie, she's 1. This is Winston, this is gonna be Sylvie's teacher today, just to make another handoff. And then you welcome that kid into your class, make them feel welcome. And this goes for any kid. I mean, you don't have to do this with returning families, but soon you're gonna get to know these kids in your class, and you're gonna be like, hey, what's up, Ashton? What's up, Karen? You're gonna wanna welcome those kids into those classes. Jacob. That's a good point. A lot of you know that the 2nd through 5th grade class is actually in the youth room, and in that case, definitely just walk them across the lobby to the youth room. You don't have to make that connection with the service manager, but physically do that. Actually walk them and connect them with a teacher so that they know where they're going. But yes, that's a great question. Okay, and just a big thing too is when you're handing those kids off to either a teacher or the service manager, whoever it is, just make sure that they know that if their kid needs anything during service, they're going to get a text, so to make sure they keep their phone handy. We've kind of been struggling with this area. It's hard when you're just in the habit of putting your phone in your purse or like in your coat or whatever. But just remind parents that if they can keep their phones handy, that would be great. Oh yes, yes, Sonia. So what happens with that is you will still handwrite them a tag and write them the parent tag. You guys will still be entering their information into the system, and therefore will be able to text them. If for whatever reason they're not answering that text, then you'll just have to get that number from the child's tag, and you can call it in. Yeah. Okay. So on that next slide, Nate. This is just general information to returning families for the iPads, they're checking their kids. This kind of applies to anybody. If you're working in kids, doesn't matter if you're a kids checking person, if you are just happen to be out in that kids checking area and you see somebody having a problem checking in on the iPad, they're like punching that thing and it's not working for them. If you would just direct them over to the check-in support computer, just so that they're not standing there getting frustrated and trying to figure out on their own what to do, but just directing them over to that check-in support, which is by the new families check-in as well. Service managers, we would love for you to check tags, parent tags coming in for drop-off and for pickup. The reason for that being is the printers that we have for the iPads right now, they are a little bit slow printing out, and so a lot of parents will just grab their kids' tags and they won't wait for their parent tag. So if you can make sure, just say, hey, do you have your parent tag as they're dropping off, and then also picking up as well. If a parent has lost their tag, this applies for service managers or teachers of parents that are picking up their kids. If they have lost their tag, we're going to ask them to see a photo ID and match it up against the child's tag. And I know that can sound like a little extreme, but just because of the size that we are, it's a safety precaution for parents and for kids. Several weeks ago, we're having a lot of issues with the printer, and we're having a lot of handwritten tags. Some parents weren't even getting them. And I actually had parents thanking me that I was checking their ID as a backup. So most people are going to thank you for it. You might have a few that are going to give you a little bit of grief for it, but in the end, it's a safety precaution for us as well as the kids. Also, too, another thing, yeah, Wendy. Yes, so a lot of times too, well, you'll notice on the parent tag, it prints 2 numbers. It's the same number, but they can tear that tag in half. So if you have, I would just, as a teacher at pickup, I would just make it a habit of asking, do you have any other kids you're picking up? If they do, you can tear that tag in half so that they have it. Or another thing that you can do is just write an initial on there that they picked up their kid. Some families have kids in every class. So they're gonna need 5 tags, but that's not possible. So I would just make it a habit. Do you have any other kids you're picking up? Okay, then, either initial it or put your name on it or tear that tag in half so that they've got something else. And then if they don't have that tag, just ask, because you don't have a parent tag, can I just see your ID real quick and match it up with the child tag? And I was gonna say too, another question that I've asked before, I've had situations where I know who the child is and I know that it's not their parent picking them up. A couple of weeks ago, it was grandma that was picking up the kid, and I don't think that they had a parent tag. And so, because I knew the kid, I said, so-and-so, who is this person? And they just kind of looked at me and they were like, that's my grandma. And I said, okay, I just wanted to make sure because I don't know who grandma is. And so even though the kid might think, well, that's a dumb question, there's a reason why we're asking it. So if they can easily identify who that adult is picking them up, then that's fine too. But I would just ask an identifying question if you don't know who the parent or who the guardian is picking up the child. That next slide, thanks. And then just some things as teachers, making sure the kids have tags coming in the classroom. There's a lot of checkpoints before they get there, but sometimes, I think Hannah made it in this morning without a tag. There's a lot of checkpoints, but just making sure kids coming into your classrooms have their tags on. And I think that might be the end of my portion. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah, Jacob. That's a good question. I think at that point, well, hopefully you would have more than, never leave your classroom, obviously, but I think you would have more than, if you have more than one teacher there, which most of you guys do now. Yeah, what we can do is, you could come and get me, I can check the back end of CCB, somebody's profile, we could possibly even get security, just kind of dig in a little bit deeper. Like, we've also had situations too where there's a mom who brings her girls, and her and her husband are separated, and dad has come to service as well, but they don't come together, like I said, they're separated, and so dad wants to see the girls, and he's tried to get in back to the hallway. Our service managers have done an awesome job at saying, I'm sorry, you don't have a parent tag, we can't let you back. But there's just kind of those situations too. If that happened, we would get a security person, just kind of try to dig into the situation a little bit deeper, see what is going on. But yeah, that's a great question. It's usually a rare situation. That's something like, I've never had that happen, but it easily could. And usually too, parents will give us a heads up, saying, hey, my mom, their grandma or grandpa or whoever, aunt, uncle, they'll usually give us a heads up saying that person is going to pick them up. Sometimes it doesn't happen though. But I would just say either get a security person or a service manager to just kind of dig into the situation a little bit deeper. See that? Yeah. So you're asking in this situation, grandma is bringing the kids, but in this what you're talking about, parents are still coming as well? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I would say we would always want to keep family units together. If grandma is the only one bringing them and parents are not, then that's totally fine. Grandma is the primary and kids are underneath her. But if parents are coming, but that time grandma happened to bring them, I would just always try to say, let's use mom or dad's phone number, since they come as well. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah, Brianna. Yeah, last name. Yeah. And then I would just try to ask that identifying question too. If it's somebody you don't know, like it could happen a lot with new families too. But I mean, if it's somebody that you are, if it's Kaisa and she didn't have her tag, just for principle's sake, we would still ask you to do it. But you clearly know, like, that Hannah is her child. You wouldn't need to ask that identifying question, but yeah. Yes. Are you referring to like this whole process, or? There's not. I feel like it could be something that is a one-on-one conversation that would happen, and we have had that before. We've had parents say, well, what would you do in this situation? And we'll, tell them that. Yeah, as of right now, it's not in a resource, but they could definitely be directed towards a service manager or myself or Alicia. Yeah. Yeah, Jacob.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Let's say the kid does recognize grandma, does recognize dad, but they don't have a name tag. We still that kid recognize grandma, maybe we don't have a strange relationship with the parent.
Mm-hmm. I guess I would say at the checkpoint of the service manager, being able to let them even back there to begin with. At that point, I would say that the service manager would need to be asking some identifying questions as well. Were you the one that checked them in? If that's the first question you're asking and they say no, then you need to refer back to who was the person that checked them in, and that person needs to be the one that comes. So if they were the one that checked them in, then there shouldn't be any issue. So, but I would say that would be your number one question would be, were you the one that checked them in? So. Right, yeah. If it's a kid who has obviously been here before and they know what to do, then that's one thing. But definitely, if they're a new family, explain to them our 2nd through 5th graders going to worship with their teachers, and I can show you where that is. Okay.
Thanks for all those details. All right, so I just want to talk with you real quick about a few upcoming